Wait, I'm nervous.
Wait, I'm nervous too. I'm always nervous.
We shouldn't get into it.
Welcome back to the Under the Sun podcast, episode 3. Same guest as episode 2.
I'm becoming a regular.
Truly. Until you leave me tomorrow morning. But we are filming this at nearly midnight because something about us is we will occasionally put things off until the last minute. And We've known for a few days that we want to film this podcast before Meredith leaves tomorrow morning in the morning, earlier than we've been waking up any day this week. So it was either now or never, quite literally, because we keep saying let's wake up for sunrise. It's not happening. And we have a few more things we want to talk to you guys about.
And this is going to be a raw, unfiltered episode because of the fact that it is past 11:30.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is truly when things get a little crazy.
The scales fall off. I don't know.
Right. I heard a thing that says don't trust any thought after 9 p.m. And honestly, they cooked with that.
They kind of did. We have 3 main things we want to talk about. Based on the DMs and conversations that we've both gotten from last week's episode of talking about faith and anxiety and freedom and all of those things. So the first thing is social anxiety. The second is essentially how to deal with rejection. And then the third is just like talking about boy tea and that stuff, just because it actually is so difficult to navigate. And I think the social anxiety and rejection pieces also come through when you're talking about relational things.
For sure.
100%.
For sure. 100%.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like last week was a little bit free-flowing conversation, but we also had prompts from you guys asking questions. So, this is going to be a little more conversational, per se.
Okay.
I feel like to just begin with social anxiety, we also, this is the other problem, we cook, like, not physically cook. We've been working like dogs this week at coffee shops. Like, we've actually been productive, especially today. We've been productive, like, for hours today. Yes or no?
I would say that I was productive today. The past 2 times that we went to a coffee shop,
I blacked out.
My computer charger was not with me, and my computer was dead. So then I finally remember my charger and charge my computer, but then I don't bring my headphones, so I can't even edit. So I was just sitting there. Yeah. I knock water all over the floor. The poor barista has to mop up my mess as I sit there not working.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I did fully not remember how bad the last 3 days.
Grinding.
I've been trying, but the thing is, when you're really close to me and you're experiencing emotions, I pick them up as my own. So Mare was just so unwell the last 2 days because of, really, I mean, your laptop's dead, you can't work. So yes. I understood that. She didn't have her charger. The next day, we're finally grinding, and we only have like an hour and a half before our next thing. Spills the water everywhere, forgot her headphones, she can't do anything. Then today, Lyndon is in Orange County, like 50 minutes away, and he literally calls me because he knows that we are going to a coffee shop, and he calls me and says, make sure May remembers her charger just so you guys can work today.
Bree tells me that. She tells me that. Like, I'm charging my headphones, and she's like, Lyndon said, don't forget your headphones. I was like,
yeah, don't forget your charger, don't forget your headphones.
I was like, he's perfect. Thank you so much. I won't. We get to the coffee shop. What did I forget? My headphones.
And that's okay because...
But we went back.
We did.
Bree's perfect. No. And we got my headphones.
Yeah. So, all to say, we desired to prepare more for this conversation, and it didn't happen. So, you are fully getting what it would be like to sit with Mare and I trying to have a spiritual conversation at midnight.
Because I feel like, too, we don't even really, like, discuss, like, I mean, we do talk about this, but we don't sit in depth and be like, we're dedicating this time to talk about this.
So,
like, this might be... You might be witnessing unresolved issues on camera.
Yeah, last week when we filmed that, I realized, like, we just don't sit for 3 hours and just...
Like, we yap.
Obviously. But it's, like, mindless yapping.
Right.
Because as soon as we have to, get our crap together and yap about godly things, we're like, cut the cameras. Who's talking? What are we saying right now? So, welcome to the raw, unfiltered us.
The raw, unfiltered, Under the Sun podcast.
Well, there is nothing new under the sun. that we all know. So the topics we talk about are things we all pretty much deal with. And I love knowing the tight-knit girly community we have over here because
We love our side of the corner.
oh my gosh, someone wrote me a letter and they talk about Lexi, Meredith, and I all inside this letter. And she said she's doing this scary thing alone. And she said, I love this corner of the internet, like talking about Lexi, Meredith, and I. And that wording was just so like exactly how we feel. Like we love our corner of the internet.
It is our corner.
It's so fun here.
We love it.
It's
here.
literally so fun.
We love having you here.
This is probably my biggest character flaw is I have, what's that called where you're like very selfish?
It's just called being selfish.
I have like, I'm possessive of my water bottle.
That's good.
Possessive. I do not like when anyone drinks from it. I like mentally counting how many ounces I drink. So if like Meredith or Lyndon drinks from my water, it just throws off my whole day. And they both love drinking from my water, probably because of how possessive I am.
No, it's also because she puts like literally a whole lemon in her water. So it tastes so good and it's always so cold and I don't have a water bottle like that. So my water is never cold. So it's such a treat when I'm like, man, I could go for some water right now and I know that breeze is going to taste good and be freezing.
I need to
and because
release
we won't
this problem of
and
mine.
because I'm not allowed to have it. So it's like,
of course the incentive is so yeah, of course. Anyway, social anxiety. I had this really bad for years of my life and I didn't really have a label per se for it because I didn't really fully understand the different types of anxiety. And I don't know, for me, I would say 80% of all forms of anxiety in my life stem from my self-hatred, body image problems that I had for so much of my life, because social anxiety portrayed itself as I wouldn't hang out with people because I just assumed they were looking at everything that I thought was wrong with me. And then if I felt like my clothes looked bad on me, I would change. Oh my gosh, it like sickens me. Literally, I wouldn't go to hang out with people if I couldn't find clothes that made me feel okay. Like I would skip the social hangout, I would cancel on people, and I would stay home because of the fear of, I don't even know what, appearing in a way that I wasn't confident or even comfortable or secure. And I had so much social anxiety going into new settings. I hated going anywhere if I didn't know one friend was stuck to my side. This is honestly why up until the last year and a half of my life, I've always had one best friend, and then I have other friends that I'm close to, but one that is like attached to my hip. I do everything with this one person. No, literally, like it's an allure for me to have that one person because it makes everything safe. Like I can walk anywhere.
That's true.
Knowing I have my one person, but if I don't have a person like that, I feel, I guess before, now I don't feel this way as much, but I guess Lyndon's that person now, so I probably still would feel that way if I didn't have a boyfriend.
Was that a segue for me to talk?
No.
I'm like, I still am this way? Is that...
I'm not like this as much anymore. However, I still struggled with the same thoughts sometimes when I go into settings. Like before it was really bad where it was all encompassing and I would be like, I need to have specific questions to ask people so we don't run out of conversational topics, and what if they don't like me, and what if I was genuinely so afraid of people's opinion, thought, perspective of me, and it stemmed from me not being comfortable with myself. And I think social anxiety and then fear of rejection, our boy drama tea, all of these things in my life all have the same common denominator for the reasons why they've been hard, and it's an identity piece. It's an identity issue for me. Yeah. I felt unworthy.
Yeah.
For all of these things. I didn't feel like I was enough. So social anxiety, I wasn't enough to be just accepted for who I am. Fear of rejection, why would they want me? They're going to reject me. Let me not even put myself out there.
Right.
Boy stuff, like before Lyndon, it was a mess. And it was, God protected me from so much, and it was still a mess.
Right.
So I don't exactly know where I'm going with that, aside from, I guess to say this is really going to be a super faith-based episode, because everything
you have,
it's
there's no other way.
There's no other way to go about it.
Yeah.
My identity has developed building blocks every single year as I get older and mature in my relationship with God, and now like just my relationship towards myself. I know who I am, and there's still days you're gonna struggle with like your self-worth, if you're enough, and especially when situations happen. Like, I think the boy stuff is one of the biggest areas that it will test if you actually believe the truth of God over who he says you are versus how you feel when you feel rejection. And so those things will come up, but I do think having the way I've always talked about this, because I feel very strongly about this when it comes to body image stuff, I had like mentors that would try to help me have better self-image, and nothing really worked, because the reality was, as I struggled for years, I knew the truth was that my worth didn't come from what my body looked like, but I didn't believe it. But I knew that it was truth.
Yes.
I just didn't agree with truth, which truth is not something you get to choose to agree with. It's just truth. It is.
Yeah.
It simply is. So it was contradictory, because I understood that my worth did not come from what my body looked like, but I didn't care that that was true. I wanted to still prove whatever to myself and believe a lie. I was literally believing a lie, which is sin, because I was choosing to not have faith.
Yes.
Besides the point. It is the truth, but I do think all of these things stem from the same root cause, which is missing pieces of identity. Yeah. So we don't even have like our tips for this. Like, we don't have anything like that. I guess just to say, if you're struggling with anxiety, fear of rejection, dealing with rejection, boy stuff, like, if you do not find your worth, your whole worth in God, this stuff is cyclical and will continue to happen, because I had things happen with boys in the past, and it always, in my heart, resulted from like me not feeling worthy of like, even, I mean, Lyndon's a good example. Lyndon and I started off like friends to lovers trope.
Friends to lovers.
Friends to lovers trope. And I needed that. God knew I needed that, because I could not fathom the idea of Lyndon, like a boy that I just thought was so cute, actually liking me. Genuinely. Like, I was like, there's no way he will ever see me romantically. And that is so sad for me to think of now, because I don't view myself the way I used to view myself. Yeah. But that's an identity thing. Like, Lyndon telling me I'm pretty would never fix that. That has to come from me believing that if God calls me worthy, which he does, then I'm worthy.
Yeah.
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 Those are my 2 cents right now.
Well, you ate with those 2 cents. Well, those 2 cents ate. I don't know my 2 cents.
Well, I feel like social anxiety, like, I feel, actually, it's been really cool. I've gotten to see you grow in this over the past year and a half of friendship. Like, you came here, and you wouldn't make new friends, really. And then I saw you sprout in that through your 6-month outreach and make all these friends that you literally didn't know beforehand. And I think you've grown, literally, I've seen it with my eyes, like, your growth in connecting to people and not being like, I don't know, not letting anxiety steal you from relationship with people.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time, I literally feel like, I don't remember, like, I feel like I read this somewhere, or maybe I didn't, or maybe it just came to me. Maybe I'm just a genius, I don't know. But
you heard it here first.
No, you didn't hear a thing. I, like, had this realization that a lot of the times when I was going into these social settings, I was making myself very small. Like, I was, like, trying really hard to, like, be unnoticed, say the right things, don't draw a lot of attention, like, just kind of be there. Don't form a lot of connections, like, just kind of exist in that, like, environment unnoticed, kind of, and then everything will be fine. Like, fly on the wall. Like, be a fly on the wall. No one will have any problems with you. They won't think you're weird. They won't reject you. Like, you'll be small. Like, no one will, like, notice. And then I feel like, honestly, maybe it was, like, the Lord that, like, brought a realization to me that was, like, you don't have to, like, be small. Like, you are allowed to take up space, and you're allowed to like exist in a room. And I think that's, like, something that's so, like, key to me, like, getting past, like, social anxiety, is remembering, like, literally, it's like you said, all goes back to truth. Like, the truth that, like, I was made in the image of God. Like, I was made, like, for a purpose. Like, all of these things that you're, like, allowed to, like, allow. Did I say allowed?
Yeah.
Allowed?
Is that, yeah, that's right. Right, guys?
I don't know. It sounded really weird for a minute.
Allowed.
Yeah. I was thinking, okay, anyway. You're allowed to take up space, like, in these rooms because you're made so, like, uniquely and, like, I'm literally losing my whole entire train of
that's
thought.
really good. It's identity.
Yes. Like, just understanding and standing firm and, like, this is who God made me. This is, like, the traits that I have. These are, like, my strengths. Like, these are things that, like, make me me. And when I started to step out and, like, be myself and, like, kind of break off, like, fear of rejection or, like, what will people think, like, I was finding myself, like, really amazing friends. And they really, like, brought out the parts of me that I thought that, like, oh, I have to, like, hide these away. Like, no one will like this, like, quality about me. Like, what if they think, like, I'm weird for blah, blah, blah. But, like, they were calling out these things in me that were like, oh, I really like this about you. And I was like, oh, like, really? Like, I thought that was something, like, that was really strange. And, like, I had to hide that. Yeah. Like, it was, like, making me, like, bigger. Like, I was taking up more space and, like, allowing myself to experience, like, true friendship and relationship and connection with people that I think social anxiety kind of, like, tears you away from. Like, it really brings you out of, like, relationship. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. As I'm thinking about that, to go, I guess, into the spiritual warfare side of that, it is so crazy to think about how if you are battling truly any form of anxiety, but one like social anxiety that pulls you away from community and quite literally isolates you, because the lie is the wording, social anxiety. You have anxiety to be social. The lie is that you can't do that. You can't be social because then you're going to have anxiety. Or going into society, you have this anxiety of what you're going to be like and look like and the space you're going to take up in doing that. Yeah. It's actually crazy how much the enemy steals from us through anxiety. Like, it is the most isolating thing if you're not going to something because you're anxious about the event and because why? Yeah. That's not fair. No. It's like making me mad. I'm like, that's not okay that we partner with that. Like, we agree with that. Yeah. But we all do it, so. And not, like, to point fingers unless I'm pointing them at myself. No, for real. But I guess that honestly goes to fear of rejection as well, because if you think of what the opposite of that is, what's the opposite of rejection? Acceptance. So if you're fearing rejection or you are rejected by someone, what's the opposite? God saying, I fully accept you just as you are, come to me. Anxiety, what's the opposite of anxiety? Peace. So what if, and this is so funny and so true, because like, if I think about that for your battle with anxiety, who are you? Who did God make you to be? A person of peace. And that's what you bring into a room. That space you take up is to bring, is to fill it with peace. And so, I don't know. I think everyone, it's so cheesy and cliche to hear, like, what you bring to the table is so unique and different. But it is true that every single person, Meredith and I, are both and equally and differently made in the image of God. Yeah. With an original design that he intended for me to walk out in, for Meredith to walk out in, and for you to walk out in. And the enemy doesn't want you to walk out in your original design, in the call of God over your life. I think everyone's is different. There's things that overlap. Like, Meredith and I love the same things. We love creating and we love storytelling, and she loves it more in, I think, video format, and I think I drive towards writing, but I show more video format, I guess. But the way God designed us is so intentional with our design, and so the enemy wants you to not walk out in that. And so oftentimes the things that you're going to get attacked with are the exact opposite things that God is speaking over your life.
I was literally just going to say that. Like, the enemy knows, like, what you're capable of and, like, who God made you to be just as much as God knows. Like, he's very well aware of that. So why would he, like, attack something if he doesn't see, like, the potential in it, essentially? Like, the areas of, like attack that you feel, like, there's obviously something in that. Otherwise, there would be no need to come for that. Like, it would be like, oh, okay, like, whatever.
I think even if you think about it, like, I don't know, I always used to think about this. I don't know why, but the enemy has been around for a very, very, very long time, much before we were here, and has seen our family lineages go down the line. So a lot of the times, the things that you get attacked with are things that are not new to your family line. True. Like, you talked about last week, anxiety in your family, like, similar story in mine. I have, like, such a fear of death. That's, like, a similar thing in past generations that I've heard about in people in my family. So things are also generational sometimes, where truly I can't get into that because I just feel like
whatever is already has been, and whatever will be
something
again.
Yeah.
I need to start memorizing verses properly.
We should, like, hold each other accountable to do that or something. For real,
because, like, that's one. Ecclesiastes.
Yeah. But we won't get into generational stuff. Other story. However, the enemy knows. He knows what you're capable of. He knows what you're made for. Not the fullest, though, but he sometimes knows more than we know in terms of how much we walk that out, how confident we are in that. So for me, part of how God made me is to believe that I'm worthy and to bring that into, like, the rooms that I walk into and to teach identity, to talk about identity to people. So what am I going to struggle with? Believing that I'm worthy. Duh. Valid. So I don't believe, so in times I haven't believed that in my life, the enemy has only gotten kind of stronger in the attack because he knows that we're not walking out in what God wants. It'll be easier for us to, fall.
That's so true.
To wrap up, if we had one thing to say to someone that is right now currently struggling with anxiety, social anxiety, all of that, what would you say? Okay,
I would probably say that there's gonna be moments, I think, that you will still have, like, you'll still battle these, like, reoccurring, like, thoughts or, like, problems. Like, I definitely don't just, like, breeze through every single day of my life, like, woo! But I think it's, like, literally...
Who will Mare be tonight?
Exactly. That's the question.
Sorry.
I think it's just literally having such a strong and firm foundation with the Lord where, like, when you encounter these moments of anxiety, like, what's true, what's not true? Like, is this thought, like, biblical? Like, is this true? Like, can I read this about myself? Like, where in the Bible does it say, like, I am blah, blah, blah? Mm-hmm. Like, if that's not in there, it's literally not true. And, like, coming, like, just, like, sitting with the Lord and, like, asking, like, where is this coming from? Like, how do I, like, move forward with this? Like, what do you say about me? And, like, even having friends, I think, to, like, hold you not even accountable, but just to, like, remind you who you are and, like, what the Lord says about you. Like, sometimes Brie, like, roasts me because I've never cried in front of her, but, like, talking, like, being able to, like, talk things through with friends and, like, why am I, like, where's my head at? Why am I feeling this way? Like, what is going on? Like, that would make me, I don't know, I feel like I'm, like, talking in circles. Like, there's no, like, end to that sentence, but just, like, really understanding, like, what's true, what's not true.
Mm-hmm. You are the testimony of walking it out day in and day out.
So you just have to take it, like, day by day, honestly, like, moment by moment. Like, I was, like, spiraling. Like, when I woke up in the morning, I was thinking of all of these things that I'm like, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do about that? Da-da-da-da.
Do I move my dog across the country with me?
Exactly. And I was like, okay, well, currently, I'm laying in bed and I just woke up and I need a cup of water. So I really can't think past that because it's not happening to me right now. So why am I letting, like, literally the enemy take my joy of my morning cup of water?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's, like, takes away from, like, where you're at and, like, being present with the Lord.
Yeah, I think something my dad's a psychologist, and so I'll often have conversations with him where his whole thing constantly is coming back to the present moment and how this moment right now, what's going on in right now. So if he will literally ask me that and be like, well, I'm sitting here with Meredith.
Yeah.
We're recording. The fan just turned on. It's kind of bright in here, but it's dark outside. It's midnight. Mm-hmm. The feel of my sweatpants are like a waffly texture. And I'm right here now. Yes. I'm not in my thought anymore. Yeah. I'm now in this moment. And I think centering yourself into the moment as kind of wonky as it seems, like it doesn't feel like it should solve anything, it solves so much because we are often living in our head and not in the present moment of reality. So if I was to say anything, I think I would just speak from experience because everyone's experience is different. So it's hard to be like, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
I found the most freedom from my fear of people. Honestly, my fear of people.
So valid.
My fear of man, truly. Mm-hmm. Through literally exposure therapy. Like, I knew those things weren't necessarily true. Like, the way we think about ourselves so much more than anyone else.
So true.
I feel like I've realized this every day that you and I get dressed together.
Thinking about you.
When we get dressed together and you say the most random things that you don't enjoy about your outfit or something, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, to me, she looks amazing. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I genuinely think she's eating. Her outfit looks great. And then there's 14 things that she's like, no, this is what's wrong with it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we are crazy. Like,
it's so true.
We think about ourselves so much deeper than anybody else. And that should be a weight literally removed off of your shoulders to have that kind of realization. So remember that. Keep that in mind. Be in the present moment and exposure therapy. I literally would just force myself
so true.
to go to things that I was uncomfortable going to, which was pretty much everything at some points in my life. And as you expose yourself, you realize how not daunting most environments actually are once you're in them.
We both can speak to that because I feel like I've seen us both step out and do things that we like would sit and talk about and be like, that's so scary. Even us just like becoming friends in the first place, like that was out of pocket for both of us.
No,
and look where we are.
literally, look at what it does.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that I've been dating Lyndon for a very long time, and last August I was in London with Lyndon, and it was literally August 1st, and I fully thought I got Augusted. And the girlies that know. We've been listening to August Again by Taylor Swift, true. So this is why this thought has come back into my head. But, you know, in the lyrics she goes, cancel plans just in case you call. Basically, Augustine was down bad for James.
Basically, we're dissecting Taylor Swift songs now.
If you don't know the lore of this song, this is going to be a little bit much, maybe. So this is on an if you know basis. Augustine was so down bad for James, she would have done anything for this man, right? James was only hitting Augustine up when he wanted to. Okay? Like, he wasn't in love with her. He wasn't going to pursue her heart. Okay?
Right.
And that's all she wanted, because that's all we want. All we want is to love and to be loved. So last year, Lynn and I were not dating yet, and we were kind of like, what the... I just didn't know what was happening, right? Everyone has the little in-between stage where, like, there's unspoken... Yeah, there's unspoken vibes, but everyone knows the vibes are there.
Right.
And... I just couldn't tell what direction it was going to go in. And something about me is I very much conceal my emotions where I don't enjoy bringing people into them. So I liked him for so long. And even my best friends, we were talking about this the other night, nobody knew. Like, they kind of knew because they knew we were talking, but nobody knew how invested my heart was, because on the outward, I appeared chill. I was calm, cool, collected on the outside. Internally, I'm already married.
And she's valid for that.
Internally, there's nobody else for me. That's where I'm at, okay? That's where my brain goes, and I know I'm not alone in that, all right?
Hey, you're not. Because
that's how I am, it's very, like, difficult for me to get over a crush. I call it a crush, and it's so much more than that, but that's what we're going to call it.
It's so much more than that.
And as soon as I don't know what's happening in a situation with a boy, that's where the rejection comes in. Literally instantaneous for me, because I can't even, I mean, it's so weird. It's like all past tense now, which is insane. Anything comes up with a boy, my immediate reaction is that they're not gonna like me back. Like, that's literally how my brain goes, is if I like them, that means they're not gonna like me back. And why do I like them? I have to get over it before it gets too much, but then it's already too much of emotion that I have towards them. And my fear of rejection is no longer just a fear. It's the reality I choose to live in. That's where I was going with that.
Okay, that's good.
I struggled with the fear of rejection and just rejection as a whole when it came to boys for, I don't even know, for years. It didn't even resolve when I started dating Lyndon. It almost like, that was what was so annoying, was I really learned how much God means it when he says you gotta, like, resolve things with him and, like, other people can't fill that shoe that he's meant to fill. Because I thought, well, at least if I'm dating someone, like, I'm locked in with a person, this rejection stuff won't come up. No. Whether you're single, very single, sort of single, talking, in a relationship.
Any phase.
If you do not resolve this fear of rejection thing that a lot of us deal with, it keeps following you, which is true of anything that goes unresolved. You have to resolve these things. That one was a big one I had to resolve, and I do feel like now I have resolve. Everyone's story is also different, because a big part of rejection for me was my fear of my sickness being too much for a person, and so I never wanted to let someone into the fullness of being sick with an autoimmune disease, especially because Lyndon is so healthy, thank God. Literally doesn't go to the doctor, doesn't even know the last time he got his blood drawn. I go to the doctor once a month minimum, and my fear was that he would see sickness up close and then need to, like, run away from it because it's scary and it's hard, and, like, if you had the choice to date someone that was healthy, why would you choose someone sick? That's not me being like, no, I'm worth it. Like, that's just straight up normal equation in your head. It just makes sense that you would be with someone healthy versus someone sick. It's easier. Okay? We're just putting that out of the way. I'm not putting myself down.
Speaking her truth.
Yes, like, that's just, like, true. And over the time of dating, I've seen how much it doesn't faze him. And I think that's probably given me some form of security. But even when we were dating, this fear was ruminating. I was scared that we were going to break up, that I was going to get rejected, X, Y, and Z. And I really don't know how I got over it.
One day I just woke up and that was the rest.
I really don't.
Is history.
How did I get over that?
It was probably just, like, time and time again, like, having security, like, being chosen, like, that type. Guys, Lyndon's so down bad. He literally cares for Bree so much. I've never seen anything like it. It's insane. He's literally perfect. It's literally perfect. So, like, it's probably just, I don't know how, like, he's obsessed with you. I don't know why you would think anything different.
I think, yes. I don't know. This is a hot take. I kind of do believe in soulmates. Everyone I say that to doesn't agree with me. I just don't think I like the idea of there not being one person made for you and you for them. Sorry.
I agree. I think I agree.
It's just, I don't even care if it's not true. I just like believing that. Because then
I think I believe that.
Like, why wouldn't God give you one person that's for you and you for them?
Because God's so intentional that it's
so
like,
intentional.
Why would you think that there's not just, like, one?
Exactly.
Like, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
I agree, honestly.
It's a hot take because I feel like every time I tell people this, they're like, you actually believe in soulmates? I'm like, yeah, I do. Okay?
I believe them.
And I have mine, so that's why I don't have fear anymore, okay? I actually do think, though, if you're in the right relationship, there's a security that you should feel that you're giving and receiving in that relationship that it essentially should cancel out your fear of being rejected. And it honestly went away really quickly for me. It was at the beginning because I, at the time, was still unable to express I had a lot of, like, avoidant conflict behavior. Obviously, we talked about this last week a little bit, but right. I don't like conflict. I don't like dealing. This was before. I'm a lot better now. But my fear of rejection was that I couldn't, like, communicate well enough. And once you communicate, even like that, once I communicated that fear, it, like, I don't know how to explain it. It feels like things resolve themselves as you bring them to light, which is biblical. Yeah. I don't know where it is. It's in 1 John that talks about how, like, everything that's in darkness will come to light. Mm-hmm. And I always think about how the inside of your head, there are no windows up here. So if everything you're dealing with is in your brain, all your thoughts, all your fears, and you're never bringing them out to the light, to life, then they just stay stuck in this dark room. So every time...
That's so valid. That's so good.
Yeah, because every time you vocalize them, it literally feels like you're getting freedom.
It's like, so
time
true.
And time again.
That's so true.
So
she cooked.
with fearing rejection or fearing failure, fearing not being enough for someone, as you maybe not even, I mean, depends on the relationship, as you vocalize it to them, as you vocalize it to a friend even, because those feelings feel embarrassing for some reason.
Yeah.
You feel freedom from them as you speak it out.
Yeah.
Because you're almost releasing it by doing that. I don't know.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. And, like, hearing your, like, most people probably have experienced or, like, to some degree understand what you're going through. So when you're speaking it out and someone's like, no, that's, like,
It resonates.
that's so valid, or, like, that, I feel that way, too. Like, you're like, oh, like, I'm not, like, crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's very validating, and I don't know, you just feel like,
Yeah.
okay.
I think how I got freedom actually from this fear of rejection, because it really wasn't this fear of him rejecting me and breaking up with me. It was my fear of me, like, not being accepted, like me, Bryana K, not being enough for someone. And that was part body image, my personality, the way my mind works, my everything about me, like, it's all encompassing. That was what the fear of rejection was. It wasn't a rejection like, I'm gonna break up with you because I don't want to date you. It was like, what if I'm not
Yeah.
worth dating? What if it's me, not one part of me, but
Yeah.
all of me? Like,
Yeah.
you date someone, like, committed relationship is you choosing that person for all of who they are, point blank. So that was the
True.
fear. And I think as I'm in this relationship, the fear falls apart and breaks off, because I'm literally witnessing a person love me who knows me better than anybody else, because just of how close you naturally get when you're dating someone for so long. And then I'm like, what the heck? What the heck?
What
Like,
the heck?
no, it's kind of trippy. Like, a person knows me better than any other person in the world, and I literally am like, you still like me? Like, you still love me? That's crazy.
Like, what are you doing here still?
So I do think, because it's the same thing as anything, with anxiety,
Yeah.
with fear of, like, making new friends, all these things, as you put yourself out there and experience new friendship or exposure therapy for anxiety,
Yeah.
or experiencing joy when you've dealt with a lot of sadness, you get freedom from it.
You just realize it's not as scary on the other side.
Yeah.
Because, like, when it's unknown and you haven't stepped into it, it's so easy to be like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. What if this happens? What if this is the worst thing ever?
Yeah.
Because you don't know. So your mind is making up all these scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is going to be really bad. Like,
Yeah.
these are all the things that could go wrong. But then when you go out and you do the things that scare you, like, half the time, it's not even half as bad as what you think it's going to be. It's actually probably sometimes even better.
You just make it up in your head to be
Yes.
so much worse.
Because that's why, like, the unknown is so, like, fearful, because you have so much room to, like, make up what's going to happen, versus, like, when you do it, you're like, okay, this is what happened. And when you keep doing the things that scare you, you see a, like, history of, oh,
Conquering
it's
it.
not that bad. These fears didn't happen. Like, why are they there? Like, you know, what's this going to be like next? And you kind of, like, you can, like, literally conquer them and get through them easier, because your mind is like, you can't play, like, makeup games
Yeah.
anymore, because
Yeah.
it's like, oh dang, like, I have proof.
Literally.
Like, I have proof that it didn't go that south.
Yeah. There's this verse in Revelation that says that the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And essentially, there's so many ways to interpret that, I think. The way I've understood it is the testimony of Jesus, the story of Jesus, what Jesus has done in your life. The testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So what he's done in my life of rescuing me from, like, self-worth problems and body image and not feeling enough produces more of its kind as I share this testimony of freedom, produces more freedom, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. So,
that's so true.
like you're saying, stepping out, the more history you have of doing the thing that was so scary, the more it repeats itself.
Yeah.
And the more freedom you're going to get, because the repetition only increases.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So
it
that
just
cooked.
builds more trust with God, because
Yeah.
you're like, okay, you've provided all of these times. Why wouldn't you do it again?
It's good.
Period.
All to say, I obviously have had the most, like, redemptful boyfriend ever. Truly. Literally, like, I've seen TikToks sometimes or like memes that are like when the girlies are like complaining about their boyfriends and you just have to stay silent because yours is perfect. I stay silent if there's any boyfriend complaint because I cannot relate. And I pray that for literally all of you. And what I will say is it took me having really high standards and not settling for times I could have settled before.
Right.
And I knew that there were things I wanted in a person that I don't think are wrong to have standards, very specific standards, even if you desire that, because I had that and I saw the Lord meet it. And I will say that there were times I surrendered that every single standard. I was like, God, if this is not what you want for me, although these are things that I think you would want from me, if they're not, I prefer what you have and make it clear that whoever it is who you have for me. And it just never was. It was always wait until these are met. Wait until your checkbox is checked off. And then I waited, and here we are. So, wait. Literally wait until you get to be in the part of the meme where you're sat and silent because your boyfriend is so amazing and you have no complaints. Because that's worth it to me, even if it takes longer. Yeah. I waited years and, like, worth it.
Why are you looking at me like I know?
Because you will know.
Amen.
You will. I'm like,
I will know.
No, I don't. I say that like so confidently.
Thank you.
Because I see that you see it in your friends' lives.
Let's go. It's true.
Like your best friends have insanely healthy, amazing relationships.
Like almost all of them.
Yeah. All that to say, Meredith and I are in different seasons with different boy stuff.
Seasons is very valid.
Although I have been in Meredith's position in the past, so we've all been there. We've all been Augusted. We've all been
Augusted.
It's true. I mean, hopefully not all of us actually. Yeah, I pray you have not.
I pray you've never been Augusted because let me tell you.
No, truly though, I think we've all been in positions where you like someone, you don't know how they feel, communication isn't necessarily everyone's forte.
Right.
You are, I don't know, all kinds of situations. You're in a friend group. Like, that was literally that was the story of my life, was I was always in friend groups with people that everyone was like, well, none of us will ever date each other. And then everyone started to like each other. And you're like, what do we do?
Like, what happened to the original plot?
No, literally. Yes. Weird situations.
Okay, so basically, do I just, like, tell the story? Honestly? Like, bits and pieces?
Bits and pieces to what you feel comfortable with. I just think it's a safe place. Like, the girlies.
I mean, okay. So...
I literally feel like we're on FaceTime with them.
No, I do too.
They're, like, on mute.
Yes, I'm like, they're sad. They're really sad. Okay. I feel like very comfortable telling this story because I talked to the source myself. He already knows. So it's not like this is like him finding out on the internet. Like, it's already been a spoken topic. I kind of tend to tell all my close friends. So, like, they're kind of updated. So I guess it's like...
And you guys are our close friends.
And you guys are my close friends. So therefore, you have to also be updated as well. So I had a crush on this boy, no name.
Wait, no, well, let's give him a name.
Here's how this all stemmed that we're even talking about this in the first place. In my vlog that I just posted, I said, I'm obsessed with the song Double I from Despicable Me 4, which is true. We love that song. We've played it like 6 times on loop.
Mare put me on.
Yes. And I said, what's your confession to Brie? Because that was my confession. And then she didn't answer. And I said, okay, well, I'll share my confession. I had a crush on one of the boys from my Europe tour. And then I was like, we talked about it in the podcast. Go listen. So, like, naturally now we have to talk about it. Clickbait. Can't clickbait you.
Can't clickbait you guys. We love you guys too much to do that.
Exactly. So therefore we're naming him Gru because we like Despicable Me 4.
Yeah.
And all the Despicable Me movies. But basically, he... Gru was on my Europe team.
Meredith did a 3-month outreach through Europe.
Yes.
For her mission program that she did.
Yes.
And you go on a team. They assign you a team of, like, I don't know, 18 people sometimes. Big teams.
Yeah, ours had like 15.
Yeah. So she had a crush on Gru.
Had a crush on Gru, honestly, long before we were even on the tour team. So, like, this was just a cherry on top. And
this was not, like, we used the Like, I have a crush on Lyndon, but do you understand how much I like and love him?
Right. And Bree, like, here's the funny part, because I thought I was so slick. Bree was like, this whole time, like, from like day one, was like, hey, like, think you guys would hit it off, like, da 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 da. And I was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not for me.
We are literally the same.
No, we are the same. And this is how I knew that you were. I just knew that you knew too, somehow. And she would like always bring it up, and I was always like, no, what the heck? Why would you even recommend, like, why would you even say that for me? Like, clearly you're not my friend.
She would get mad.
I would get so mad. I was like, no.
But I would do the same.
But then I would eat it up. I was like, true. And so, like, literally, we're, like, tour was almost, like, our Europe trip was almost done. And I, like, had texted Brie, and she was like, so, like, do you, like, Gru? Like, what's going on? And I was like, yeah, actually, I do. And I have for a while. And she's like, yeah, I know. And I was like,
I go, this is 15 months in the making.
so I'm like, so I'm not slick, is what you're telling me. Who? Why is it obvious?
I think you were slick.
I was.
I just happen to be the same person as Meredith.
Yes, and you also happen to be my best friend,
Yeah.
so there's just no two ways about that.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I had thought that the feelings were mutual between me and Gru. Clearly, it didn't work out. Spoiler alert. She goes,
Mare just gave me more of the lore literally
sometimes
yesterday.
I'll like randomly drop like random like moments that come into my head. I'm like, oh, one time, da da da, and she's like,
It's like
and I just dropped the lore.
astounding to hear. Like, it really gets me riled.
Yeah. And so me and rejection, you go way back. I feel like a lot of the times I have almost, okay, all of the times that I've ever liked a guy, he's never liked me back. Never. There was only like one time in high school that it was like we kind of dated, but literally that was it. So rejection has been like, comes back to bite me every single time. And I feel like every single time it gets worse. Like this past one was literally like, oh, like this could end me low key. Like this could be like, I never want to talk to another guy ever again, because I was like, this, like, that sucked. Like it's just like, it's different when you like a guy and you're like, okay, like he's not that great. Like I don't really see it like working. Like, you know, that's a different type.
You get them, you like them, but like,
Yeah.
you just know it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. So like you're not super like
locked in.
But it's totally different. And like I just experienced this when you like, it is a good guy and you're like, oh, like this could totally like, I could see this. Like this is like, feels really like kind of tangible. And then it's not. Like that's a totally different type of rejection versus one where you're kind of like removed from the situation. And so especially when you think that something is also like communicated and mutual and it's not, that like stings, because you're like, what is it then? Like, why don't you like me? Like, then you start to go in the spiral of like, why didn't these other relationships work out? Why didn't any of these other guys like me back? Like, what am I doing that is not attracting someone? Like, will I be like this forever? Like, what is the issue that no one's telling me? I'm like, guys, if something's wrong with me, just say it to my face, guys. Be honest, please.
That's literally the lie, though, is like, what
Yes.
am I doing wrong? Is like where I think the lie stems from.
100%. And so I have been like, the way that I've dealt with this rejection is so different than any of the other times, because I'm not one to like talk about my feelings or cry in front of people or let them know that I'm hurt. So previous times where I've been rejected by like boys that I've liked, I've kind of just dealt with it and then moved on and like maybe cried once, but I wouldn't talk about it and I wouldn't like dwell on it and I wouldn't tell people, oh, like this is bothering me and I don't know how to go like forward with it. But this time I felt like I was so like transparent with my friends a lot of the time, like just saying like, this still like really hurts like 5 months later. Like I don't know what to do. Like that kind of thing, or like, where is this coming from? Like, how do I like manage it, I guess, or like move forward? Like, what is the next step? Like, where, like, just having them speak, like Bree and like even like Bella and Maddie, like some of my friends here, they've been so sweet. Like Bella and Maddie, like, they just, like, prayed for me and, like, just really, like, helped me, like, break off, like, rejection or things that I'm, like, didn't realize I was, like, harboring.
Carrying,
Yeah,
yeah.
from the situation, which is so nice. Or just having you guys be like, no, like, all back to identity, this is, like, who God says you are. Like, this is the things that he has promised for you. Like, clearly this is not, like, it, and it's like, he's protecting you. So even though I was really hurt and, like, I really wanted this, I just have to, like, really, really try and, like, see through the other side that this is, like, protecting me, and there's a reason why I didn't get what I wanted, because, like, what God has is better than what I can imagine. So it's just, like, holding on to that faith and, like, that hope that there is someone out there. There is someone that will, like, love every part of me. And I see it so much in my friends' relationships. Like, you and Lexi, like, have the best boyfriends. Like, they literally, truly love you guys so much. Or I'm like, okay, like, one day I will have that, because I see it. Like, I've seen prayers answered in front of my face. So, like, why wouldn't I too get to experience that?
100%.
So it's just definitely, like, a daily, like, struggle and surrender. Like, every morning I literally will have to, like, start my mornings out and be like, okay, this is yours. This isn't mine. I trust you. I have faith in you. Like, take every single, like, thought and, like, emotion. Like, it's, like, I have to give it to you, because if I carry it and I keep going through my day with this, I won't get through the day. This will be a terrible day.
Yeah.
So, rejection sucks, though.
It's the worst.
It literally sucks.
Okay, couple things from while you were talking that started. Literally, my brain couldn't stop. It was like, boom, boom, boom.
Let's go.
I had situations before Linden where it was never communicated, but, like, vibes were caught on both ends, and there was way too much intentionality. I gave Mare some past lore last night, too. There was way too much intentionality from a platonic friendship, but no communication on intention. And something that the Lord, it was the Lord, but it was through a mentor, which was crazy. I lived in this house with 28 other people. We mentioned this in last week's episode while I was doing ministry full time, and the house leaders lived below on the bottom unit. And I was down there one time, and one of the house leaders said, "Bree, like, why do you let all these guys in LA treat you like you're their girlfriend? Like, they use you like you're their girlfriend emotionally, but none of them are committing to you." And I was like,
you said you don't have to be so loud about it.
I said, you don't have to be so loud about it, because I know, okay? And that night, though, I think hearing someone else say that to me, that I deserved better, and that I was essentially being in a position I shouldn't be in. I should not be an emotional girlfriend to someone that can't commit themselves to me. Something awoke inside of me. I can't explain it, but I literally have a journal entry that was like, I am done doing this.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's really when I think my standard was raised, where I was like, I know better, but now I'm going to choose to act on knowing better.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be with someone that can't love you well and can't commit to you? Like,
yeah, it's so true.
It's partial love. Like, it's not even the fullness of love.
Yeah.
For someone to be half committed, or to just need some of you, to need you emotionally, to want you when there's less options around. Like, you don't actually want that, but it's hard to walk that out because of you liking that person.
Yes.
But you don't actually want that.
No.
Because I had situations like that where I liked them, though, and I was like, okay, but I like them, so shouldn't I get what I want if I like them?
So valid.
But they weren't it. Like, there was so much missing, but it's so hard to see that when you're in the thick of liking someone.
It's so true.
So,
no, that's so valid.
Yeah.
I feel like guys that I've liked in the past, you don't recognize it in the moment, but at least for me, I felt like I was, like, trying to make them like me. Like, I was like, I'll read the books that they like, and I will, like, do this, and this, and, like, then they'll like me. Like, I will, like, they'll like me. I got this. And so, like, this time around, I was like, well, I can't speak. I knew that going into, like, as you just mature and you realize, like, how you acted in the past, like all of these things.
Like
you don't want to carry
you want
them
to be
forward.
yourself.
Yes, and I'm like, oh, like surely like the next guy that I like I'm not gonna force him to like me. I am gonna be who like God made me to be, and like if that is not enough, then
yes,
bye.
But then when you like a person,
Yes.
it's like so hard to cling to that.
It so is. So it's like so hard to like actively make the choice to be like, no, I have to like break the cycle. Like I gotta stop doing all that.
Second thing goes into something I already talked about, which for me was like my body image stuff. I knew the truth, but I didn't want to believe the truth, even though I knew that I was essentially partnering with sin, the sin of unbelief, by not believing the truth that I am enough, I am worthy.
Yeah.
My worth doesn't come from what my body or face or anything looks like.
Yeah.
Similarly, like you were saying, you had to believe you have to every day actually choose to believe this is God's protection over your life.
Yeah.
That is so massive, true, and huge. For if you thoroughly believe that God is your father and that he's a good father that wants good things for you, that biblically speaking, you lack no good thing because of him, because of your good shepherd, why would he let you have something that is not for you or that is not the highest for you? That's why I believe. Okay, going back to soulmates. That's why I believe in them, though, because I like you could date anyone off the street, but you're telling me that's God's highest for you? No,
yeah,
he has like something for you that is greater than that.
That's so true.
And so I love the idea of God's protection over a situation that essentially interferes something happening.
Yeah,
and whether that be from it not being a mutual liking towards one another, if one party doesn't like the other, or if a situation even outside of that happens that causes something to not work out, I thoroughly believe in the protection of God. Yeah. Because I've seen it in my life time and time again where situations honestly looked good. And then they didn't work out, and I'm like, what the heck? That's crazy. That didn't make any sense. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful. I'll literally have moments sometimes where I'm like, oh my gosh, I love God. Like, I love the protection of God, because who the heck would I be with right now if I didn't have the protection of God?
And that's the truth. That's, like, the one thing that, like, literally carries me through this is because, like...
I have to share Mike with you.
Yeah, this is what happened last time. I literally have to remind myself of that every single day, that, like, this is God's protection, like, for me. Like, it's for my good. And I think something I struggled with, like, going with rejection is I didn't want to let go of the situation, and I didn't want to like let go of him in hopes that something would happen, like he would,
it's so real,
you know, like that he would come back, or like whatever the situation may be, because I was like, oh well, if I let go of the feelings, like, and then it works out, like what am I gonna do? Like I gotta wait, like I gotta stick around. But it's like, that's not, sis, no.
It's like the same thing as when you go through a breakup and you don't want the relationship to end, so you don't even let yourself heal for the potential 1% that you get back together. It is such an injustice to you and to your trust in God that even if sometime in the future that whole situation comes back around, how much better to have known you gave it to the Lord fully and allowed your heart to move on than to have like forced something that was not yours to hold on to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's so true. Because it was ruining my days. Like, I would just sit and I would dwell and I would think about, like, if I said this differently, if this situation went differently, I wouldn't be in this circumstances. Like, the situation itself would be different if I chose X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And I was, like, going crazy because also, like, in my situation, there was no communication. So we had said nothing. Like, I didn't know what he knew. He didn't know what I knew. Like, no one knew where we stood. And that left so much room for questions and making up scenarios and da-da-da-da-da. And that, like, led, like, me to be confrontational, which I don't do that. I'm not a confrontational person. I hate confrontation. We talked about this. I will never do it.
She says never, but she did it.
And that was me stepping into the unknown, because if I had left that with nothing, I would spend a lot of most of my time in the future obsessing over that situation, literally. And my mind was making up all of the what ifs of what could happen, what could go wrong, until I did it and I stepped out and, like, anxiety, whatever, had to go. And I was like, this is like I need to know, and it helped me move forward in the like rejection process because it gave me no room to make things up anymore because this unknown scary thing had happened and it was there and I could move forward and process and take whatever I needed from that and be on my way, which has led to so much freedom and getting over like rejection even to like I only thought of it in relationship like aspects like oh boys don't like he doesn't like me, but it really can stem into like it can bleed into a lot of other areas of your life like social anxiety, like all of these aspects. So I'm passing the mic. I don't know what to say. I don't know what.
No, that was really good. It's true. I think we always assign rejection to being a relational thing, but we're always kind of rejecting ourselves until we get freedom and accept ourselves. Truly. That's true. In everything. So, last bits from both of us. Okay. 30, 40, 50-second bits. Romans 8:28 says that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. So everything that happens in your life, let's just use me for example, because here I am. Having sickness for 14 years and swearing to never live back at my parents' house and now never wanting to leave it and making new friends every 3 months, like all of the things that have happened in my life, losing friendships, dating a boy, everything that has happened, all things, the promise of God is that all things will work together for good for those that love God and are called according to his purpose. Do I love God? Yes. Am I called according to his purpose? Yes. So that means that the promise of God over our lives are that all things will work together. So I think it takes a lot of weight off of you and I to control situations and allows you to, I don't know, embrace the moment, embrace mess ups, and kind of, I don't know, it sounds so cliche, but like live a little, you know?
Yeah.
Live a little. It does, that verse for me freed up so much of my control problems of wanting to make sure everything worked together well and worked good and found its place in the puzzle of my life. But I'm not supposed to do that. And that verse helped me, I guess, every day come to that realization and that reminder of truth that all things are going to work together for good. I'm not the master of my life. Thank God. Or else that verse would not be true. So thank God I'm not. I love you guys. Mare, what's your little nugget?
My little nugget is that me and Brie, is such, like, I feel like we're in, like, different phases of life. Yeah. But we still overlap. I live at home with my parents, so does she, but I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have good community at home, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing half the time. And so it's such a testimony because I still like trust and have the faith that like the promises that I see in Bree's life like will be mine one day too. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to like have all of these amazing things to like have God still be working in your life and still be moving, because there's still so much good that I am like uncovering every day that I don't think I would be able to see if I had all of my prayers answered like at the snap of my fingers. Yeah. So I think it's just like, just goes to show you're not alone and that God can still like move and work despite whatever good or bad circumstances you have going on in your life. And there's still so much room to like grow, and being in the moment. So important. Otherwise you'll like miss what's going on here. Mm-hmm. Like sure, your prayers will be answered, but there's so much good that's already here right now that you can't see, you know, if you're not being intentional and like seeking it out.
With Mare talking about being in the moment, there are literally days sometimes I'm so sick I don't leave my house aside from a lap around my neighborhood. But in that lap, I have so much gratitude because I'm seeing so much around me. I'm seeing the color of the leaves as the sun hits them and the color of the sky, and I'm seeing little kids on their bikes, and there's so much going on in the moment. Even in the moments that I'm stuck in bed all day, like if you choose to be present, there's so much happening in the moment.
Our nugget on rejection is that rejection builds so much character, honestly, like for the plot, first of all. But like for me personally, like rejection has been so hard for me to deal with this past year. Like honestly, I find so many moments where I feel like it could, like, it makes you rethink and want to like deconstruct exactly like who you are. Like it really makes you like rethink every decision you've literally ever made. But going through it with God is so much different because it's bringing out parts of you that you like honestly like do need to work on, and you do need to like grow in these areas that nothing else can bring this growth except for rejection. Yes. And it sucks and it's hard, and I'm like in the thick of it right now, so like I understand the pain that it brings, but I trust so much in God that what is on the other side is so much better than like suffering. Like suffering produces endurance, so like this is good. Yes. And we're here, we're working together. If y'all want to chat about rejection, hit me up in the DMs. I know what you're going through. I got you, girls. But Bree's cooking.
This is literally because of what you just said. But Romans 5 says, "Therefore, since we have been made right in God's sight by faith, we have peace with God because of what Jesus Christ our Lord has done for us. Because of our faith, Christ has brought us into this place of undeserved privilege where we now stand, and we confidently and joyfully look forward to sharing God's glory. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. And endurance develops strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment, for we know how dearly God loves us because he has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with his love." So we rejoice in sufferings, we rejoice in our rejections, we rejoice in God's redirections, knowing that suffering produces endurance, endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. That's so good. We literally need these. We suffer, but it's not unto nothing. Mm-hmm. We deal with rejection, and it's, I don't know, I like that. It's not just rejection, it's literally the redirection of God, and it produces endurance, character, hope, all these things that ultimately strengthen your soul. Yeah. Let the rejection that you've experienced be a sign of God's redirection for something better. So Mara has a blog where she receives letters. I have this now, and I've been receiving letters from you guys. Let me know what you think of this. This just came to me. What if for this week's podcast and lettering prompts, if you're in a healthy relationship...
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you going to say they sent to you or me?
No,
me.
You.
Yeah. Wait, this is crazy.
That's what I was going to say.
If you're in a healthy relationship, send a letter to me.
Don't send them to me. For real, I'll cry.
And share your experience. Let me know if I can post it on both of these. Let me know if I can post it. If not, obviously, totally cool too. We love the letters so much. If you're in my position where after years of rejection and confusion with boys and stuff, and now I have the best boyfriend in the whole entire world, and you also are in that position in a healthy relationship, send a letter to me, talk about what resonated from the pod, share literally whatever you want. Your dreams about, like, what you want your life to look like with your relationship and anything you want. If you relate and resonate more with Meredith, I will also put her P.O. box in the description. Send a letter to Mer with the parts of the podcast that you resonated, things that have helped you where you're at right now with rejection. Yeah. And again, with both of these, let us know what we can post and not post. Okay, we'll do a podcast and put them on Mare's blog. Again, specify if we can use them or not. We love you guys so much.
Love you, Pookies.